Hi children, hope you're all well. So our maths focus this week is halving and sharing. So we're going to have a little activity that you're going to do, but before we do that, I thought I would just go over and explain to you the difference between halving and sharing, how they're similar, what they are, and how they're different as well, and how we can work that out. So the first one I'm going to focus on is halving. So when you halve something, you start with a whole, so like a whole piece of paper, like this. Start with a whole piece of paper. If we were to halve it, it means that we're going to basically cut it into two different parts, okay? Or we might fold it. We're going to fold it, okay? So I'm going to fold it in half. You've probably heard me say that before. Fold it in half, like this, okay? And now we've got half of the paper. If I was to open it out, you can see the two halves. Here's the line where I've halved it. First half, second half, okay? Now, the important thing to know about halving is that when you halve something, both parts have to be the same, okay? So you take a whole, you halve it to make two parts, okay? So you might cut it to halve it, we folded it to halve it, and we've now got two parts, and both of those parts are the same, okay? If I was to fold this piece of paper like this, it down for a second, okay, you can see I've got two parts, haven't I? I open it out, you can see, oh, I've got lots of lines on there, let me keep it forward actually. I've got two parts, this part here and this part here, okay, are they exactly the same? No, so even though I've got two parts, I haven't halved it because they are not the same. I could also halve this paper down the middle long ways, couldn't I? Okay, just like that. If I open it up, got one half here, one half here, one half here. Are they the same? Yes, so I have halved it, okay? You can also halve things like food. So you might have half of a pizza. If you had a whole pizza and you cut it down the middle to make two parts that are the same, that is halving. Or a cake, if you had a whole cake and you wanted to share it between two people, you cut it down the middle to make two parts, then you've halved the cake. I've got an apple here. Here is my apple. I've got a whole apple. I want to share this apple between me and Panda, okay, which means I need to halve it because halving is the same as sharing between two, okay. So because I'm sharing between two, I need to halve it. So I'm going to cut a line down the middle and I'm going to halve my apple like that. Okay. Have me and Panda got the same amount of apple? Yes, we have. Okay. So we have halved the whole apple. Okay. We've cut it in half. Okay. So as I said, halving is the same as sharing between two. This time we're going to halve some sweets. So I've got some sweets here. Now, I'm not going to halve one sweet. I'm not going to cut that sweet in half because it's quite a tough sweet to cut. I'm going to halve the amount of sweets, okay, which is the same because we'll end up with both the same amount, but it's not quite similar not quite the same as cutting the apple in half. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to start with 4 sweets. Actually, let's start with 2 sweets. I'm going to start with 2 sweets, okay? I'm going to halve these sweets, but I'm going to halve the amount of sweets, okay? Because I want to share them between two, me and Panda, okay? So the best way to do sharing, to make sure that you get it the same, is do 1 for me, 1 for you, 1 for me, 1 for you. So I'm going to do 1 for Panda and 1 for me, okay? How many of you got Panda? 1. And I've got 1 as well, okay? So we've both got the same. So we've halved the amount of sweets, or you could say we've shared between 2, which is the same, okay? As I said, halving is the same as sharing between 2. This time I'm going to have 4 sweets, okay? So here we go. We want to have the same because we're halving them, okay? And we're sharing. So 1 for Panda, 1 for me. 1 for Panda, 1 for me. Okay, I've got 2. How many have you got, Panda? 1, 2. Have we got the same? Have we halved the amount of sweets fairly? Yes, we've shared them fairly between 2, or we've halved them fairly between the 2 of us. Okay, let's do one more. This time I'm going to start with 6 sweets. Okay, I've got 6 sweets here. We're going to halve the amount of sweets. We're going to share them between 2. They mean the same thing. Okay, so here we go. 1 for Panda, 1 for me. 1 for Panda, 1 for me. 1 for Panda, 1 for me. Okay. How many sweets have you got, Panda? 1, 2, 3. I've got 1, 2, 3. So we've shared the sweets between us. We've halved the sweets between us. We've shared them between 2, and we've got 3 each. So 6 shared between 2 is 3. Okay. But now I'm going to do a little bit more on sharing, okay? Because as I said, halving is the same as sharing between 2, okay? But what if you're going to share between 3? How would that work? Okay, we can't halve that, because when we halve something, you share it between 2. So this time we're going to have to just do some sharing between 3. So I'm going to start with 3 sweets this time. Okay, so I'm going to have 1 for Panda. I'm going to have to work this out how I'm going to do it. 1 for Panda, 1 for Whale, and 1 for me. Okay, so how many of you got Panda? 1. Whale's got 1, and I've got 1. So we've shared that between 3 of us. And has it been fair? Is it equal? Have we all got the same? Yes. Let's do it between 4 this time. Okay. 1 for Panda, 1 for Whale, 1 for me. 1 for Panda. Ooh, I haven't got any left. Is that fair? How many of you got Panda? 1, 2. And Whale, you've got 1. And I've got 1. Have we shared them fairly? No, we haven't. How can we share 4 between 3 fairly? No, because somebody's always going to end up with 1 extra. So that is a number that we can't share fairly between 3. Okay, what about if we tried 6 sweets? Okay, I've got 6 sweets now. So let's have, oh, sorry, my laptop's, there we go, sorry, but
I can learn to understand you much better if I...
Sorry, no idea what that was. Right, so we've got 1 for Panda, 1 for Whale, 1 for me. 1 for Panda, 1 for Whale, 1 for me. Okay, so we shared 6 sweets between 1, 2, 3 of us. How many have we got each? How many of you got Panda? 1, 2. Whale, how many of you got? 1, 2. And I've got 1, 2. Is that fair? Have we all got the same? Yeah, we have. So we have fairly shared 6 sweets between 3 of us, and that's left us with 2 each. Okay. Right. This time, I'm going to introduce somebody else. It's going to get a bit difficult now with my hands. I'm going to run out of hands. I've got the dragon now. Okay. So let's have him hanging there. So this time I'm going to have 4 sweets. Okay. Let's see if you can work out first. Let's see if you can make a prediction. I've got 4 sweets and there's 4 of us. How many are we going to have each, do you think? Okay, let's see if you're right. Right, so 1 for Panda, 1 for Whale, 1 for Dragon, and 1 for me. So Panda, how many have you got? 1. Well, you've got 1. Dragon, you've got 1, and I've got 1. Have we all got the same? Yes, so we have shared that fairly. So to share 4 sweets between 4 of us leaves us with 1 each. So well done if you said 1. Okay. This time we're going to have 8 sweets. Okay, drop one, I can take one from that. 8 sweets. We're going to have 8 sweets between 1, 2, 3, 4 of us. Do you think you can make a prediction this time how many we're going to have? We're all going to have the same, hopefully. Can we share 8 between 4 of us? Let's see. Okay, so 1 for Panda, 1 for Whale. Oh, 1 for Whale. 1 for Dragon. 1 for me. 1 for Panda. This is getting tricky. 1 for Whale. Where can I put that? Let it go there. Oh, I'll just hold them under here. 1 for Whale. There we go. 1 for Dragon. And 1 for me. Okay, so Panda, how many have you got? 1, 2. Whale, you've got 1, 2. Running out of hands. Dragon has got 1, 2, and I've got 1, 2. So have we all got the same? Yes. So 8 shared between 4 people leaves us with 2 sweets each. And Miss Hockley's not got enough hands. Okay, so what I'd like you to do today is, I'm just going to put all these sweets back. There we go. What I'd like you to do today is explore halving and sharing between more than 2 as well. Okay, so first of all, explore halving. So see if you can maybe find something in your house with permission from grown-ups to halve. So maybe an apple or a piece of paper. Okay, so explore that first. Are there some things that you can't halve? If you were to halve something, does that mean that you haven't got equal sides maybe? So if I was to have this piece of paper here, okay, so I've got quite an unusual shape of paper. If I was to halve that, okay, and these are my 2 halves now, are they the same? No, this one's a bit taller, isn't it? So that wouldn't be fair. Okay, so explore to see if you can find things that you can't halve as well as can. And then see if you can come up with your own little game like I did with some of your toys or maybe some people in your family. It doesn't have to be sweets. It can be anything that you can get your hands on and that you can share the amount. And see if you can, what amounts you can share. So can you share 8 between 4? Can you share 6 between 3? Can you, and then see what ones you can't share equally. Okay, and see if there's a pattern between those as well. Okay, so this is a bit of an investigation now. I like to see your results as well. So good luck. I hope my video made sense. It was a little bit crazy today. Haven't got enough hands. But yeah, hopefully all that all made sense. I look forward to seeing all of your work.